We get confronted with people using English in every aspect of our life. Of course, this is not a very big surprise, because nowadays English is one of the most important languages in the world. We, as future English teachers, are required to have enough knowledge of the linguistic aspects of the English language. That is why we are going to give you a short presentation. The topic of our presentation is the use of English by the Dutch on social media. We decided to choose this topic because nowadays everyone is using social media on a daily basis. We thought it would be interesting to investigate why Dutch people use the English language on their social media. Our research question is, in what way and why is English used by the Dutch on social media? We are going to look at the different fields of linguistics regarding our topic. We will discuss 3 of them: language contact, social linguistics, and language and culture. We will also explain what kind of linguistic data we used and why. In the end, we'll give you our conclusion of the research, which will include the answer to our research question. Britt will now discuss our first linguistic field, language contact.
Thank you, Stephanie. When we talk about the language on social media, we have to address the linguistic field's language contact, which entails the interaction of 2 or more languages, also known as code switching. In our research, the interaction takes place between Dutch as the L1 and English as the L2. The reason why we use code switching while we communicate is because we try to express ourselves with a word that does not exist in language A, so we use language B to fill in the gaps. Or maybe the word that you would use in language A just doesn't quite suit how we feel. Lately, we tend to use phrases from language B more often because they have become more familiar and frequently used in our lexicon. For instance, due to borrowing, which is also a subdivision of language context, as a result of the rise of technology, many English words have become essential these days. Words like emails, websites, and online. The past decade, there has been a growth in the use of digital language on social media. This language is nearly always English because it is one of the most commonly used languages throughout the world. We also code switch because it gives our language a stylistic effect to suit our emotions. Especially teens pick up English words and phrases from the web and use them in certain contexts. When you visit social media, you cannot miss terms and phrases in the manner of LOL, WTF, and other kinds of slang and acronyms. Not to forget memes, which are pictures with funny text describing situations that teens can relate to. The use of the English language on social media is moving very quickly. As a result, people whose first language is not Dutch start using this digital language in everyday life as well. Now Stephanie will tell you something about the second field.
There are a lot of different relationships between the language and societies. The term we use for the study of these relationships is called sociolinguistics. In our society, there are a lot of different speech communities. A speech community is a group of people who have the same expectation and norms regarding the use of language. Even though everyone has an individual and unique way of speaking, we still tend to sound like other people who have, for example, the same background. Nowadays, we can clearly see the different speech communities in our society. Looking at the elderly, we can hear that they are coming from a different generation. They use the same old words and expressions. We can see the same development if we look at teenagers. They tend to use the same words and they talk in a certain way because they want to fit into the youth society. Looking at the use of English on social media, we can see that especially teenagers use a lot of English expressions and words. Research shows that teenagers use the English language because it's a popular language. And as we know, teenagers want to be popular. So it's not very surprising that we see teenagers using a popular language on their social media. Farah will now discuss our third linguistic field, language and culture.
Well, as we know, social media has become a subculture in the Dutch teenage culture. It has become so popular that it's a known phrase to the Dutch teenagers, and when we define the culture, We use a term to refer to all the ideas and assumptions about the nature of things and people that we learn when we become members of a social group. If you look at the teens' social media, for example Instagram, you can see that there are time concepts used. Many teens refer back in time by every Thursday using the term Throwback Thursday, referring to an old picture that they post again to show the people how they were when they were young. And also, if social media has seeked its way, so many normal, regular English words have become words that are very related to social media, like goals, if someone is referring to something they want to have for themselves, or Flashback Friday, that is another word for Throwback Thursday, but then on Friday. So you see that teens, if they talk on a daily basis and talking about social media, they all know those phrases and they're not weird to them. But if you talk to other people on the street from an older age, they don't know what you mean by goals. They think, okay, goals, that is something you want to accomplish. When you ask a teen, then there are other things said, like goals, relationship goals, future goals, and such things.
Now I'll tell you a bit about the research we've done, and especially the research Brit did on the internet. Brit has collected links about the English and Dutch language to give an impression on how much influence English has on the Dutch language. They're all articles from the internet. Both articles are in Dutch. In this way, the image given of Dutch youth is more accurate than it would be if you would take an English article, for example. The first article she found is it's about how the Dutch youth is losing interest in the Dutch language. They find the language too complicated, boring, and compare the Dutch language to an old grey man. Another article talks about the words we use in Dutch that originate from English, the so-called loanwords. These words can be found especially in the technology and social media. Words such as email, spam, hacken, and gamen are frequently used by youth in their daily lives on social media and adopted by the Dutch language. It also notes that the English language is seen as cool, and many younger people use it because of the image it gives them. These two articles both show that the interest in English is greater and that many may because of this, our own language and grammar gets used less and less. This doesn't mean that their English is grammatically correct or on a very high level, but if they enjoy the language, they're likely to improve faster. Examples of loanwords in English, of English used in the Dutch, can be found everywhere on social media. Take a post I found from Facebook. It's a Dutch post with two English loanwords in it. En de post notes: de grootste leugen op de interweb. Ik heb de voorwaarden gelezen en ga akkoord. Ik voel me echt badass nu. The words interweb, a mix of internet and web, and badass don't have Dutch translations and are used to give a kind of image of yourself. And now Anne-Sophia will talk a bit about her research she's done on her school.
So for this topic we did different kinds of research. We've been looking at the internet, we've looking at books, and I've done some research. I'm doing an internship in a school in Amsterdam East, and I decided to do my research here because the school consists of many different nationalities, which makes it even more interesting to do this research. Mostly because Dutch is not their first language, so I decided English is not their first language either, so how do they speak Dutch, and do they even use English words? What I found out from the first day when I got there is that they use a lot of English words which they got from songs or from movies or from series. And then I asked them, why do you use those English words? Is it easier for you to say them, or why do you use it? And mostly the children said they find it cool to use English words, and it's easier indeed, because sometimes they don't know the Dutch word for it, or the Dutch word is harder to pronounce or to say. Those children have quite a hard time with their Dutch, and they learned it when they got in Holland, in the Netherlands, because most of them are foreigners from abroad who got here to live. And English is their kind of their second language, but they can say way better than Dutch. I've also noticed that mostly the conversation are sometimes in English as well. They use a lot of words but they find easier to say. So what I found out is that they find it cool, easier, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, and Sophia. In conclusion, the reason why we chose this topic is because it amazes us how much English is used these days on social media. We have done research on this topic by browsing the web, reading articles and blogs, and comparing other researches to ours. We have become familiar with the linguistic fields related to this matter, such as language contact, social linguistics, and culture and language, and link this theory to our topic. We unconsciously adopt English words into our L1 because we see it every day, all day, over the web in different forms and shapes, such as blogs, clips, articles, and so-called memes. Subsequently, we use these phrases to express ourselves and create a certain image that others may find cool. Although most of the Dutch teens seem to use bits and pieces of English, acronyms like WTF, OMG, and LOL. This way we create an interference between Dutch and English, which is called code-switching. So we basically do it because it suits our feeling and emotions better.
This was our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.